The first buzz didn't wake me. The second did. That sharp, emergency vibration rattled across my nightstand and into my skull, dragging me out of sleep like a hook behind the eyes. I groaned and reached blindly, knocking over an empty water bottle before grabbing my phone. The screen glowed harsh white in the dark. Emergency alert. Avoid contact with interior walls. Remain calm. Await further instructions. I blinked. Read it again. Avoid walls? I actually laughed. Some automated glitch. Maybe they meant gas lines or structural damage. Government alerts weren't exactly famous for clarity. Still, something about the wording stuck to me. Avoid contact. Not stay away from damaged areas. Not evacuate. Just don't touch the walls. I set the phone down and rolled onto my back. That's when I noticed the silence. Apartments are never quiet. There's always background life. Footsteps overhead, someone arguing, plumbing groaning like it's alive. Tonight, nothing. The silence pressed in on my ears until they rang. Then, tick, my eyes opened. The sound was small, precise, like a fingernail tapping glass. I turned my head toward the bedroom wall. Nothing. 5 seconds passed. Tick, tick, definitely inside the wall. I sat up slowly, heart doing that subtle quickening you get when your brain hasn't decided if something is dangerous yet. It's pipes, I muttered, except pipes didn't tick in rhythm. This was deliberate, evenly spaced, testing. I slid out of bed, careful without realizing why. My foot brushed the drywall as I stood. The ticking stopped instantly, not faded, stopped, like something listening had just been caught. I froze. The air felt thick, charged. Somewhere down the hallway, a door opened. A man's voice echoed faintly. "Hello!" No response. Then a dull thud vibrated through the building. Not loud but heavy, deep enough to feel in my ribs. Silence followed. My phone buzzed again. Same alert. No change. I stared at the wall. Nothing moved. Nothing sounded. But the quiet wasn't empty anymore. Felt occupied, like someone holding their breath on the other side. I backed away slowly and sat on the edge of my bed. Seconds stretched. Minutes maybe. I didn't blink much. Didn't want to miss anything. Eventually, exhaustion dragged me sideways onto the mattress. I don't remember falling asleep. I remember waking up, because the ticking had returned. And this time, it was closer. Not louder. Closer. The rhythm had changed, no longer spaced evenly. Now it wandered. A tick near the floor. One near the ceiling. Mapping. Following. My eyes tracked the wall like I could see through it. The paint looked normal. But I couldn't shake the feeling that, if I stared long enough, I'd see something staring back. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. 3:12 a.m. Another buzz. Do not strike walls. Do not apply pressure. My stomach tightened. Why would anyone? A sharp bang echoed from somewhere above me. A muffled shout. Hey! Stop! The ticking erupted into rapid-fire tapping for half a second. Then, silence. Total. The building held its breath. So did I. Minutes crawled by. No more sounds. No footsteps. No voices. Nothing. When dawn finally seeped gray through my blinds, I hadn't slept. The walls stayed quiet, but they didn't feel empty. They felt patient, waiting for the day to begin. Morning didn't feel like morning. The light coming through my blinds was gray and thin, like the sun didn't want to be here either. I hadn't moved much all night. Every time I started to drift, the memory of that ticking snapped me awake again. By the time my alarm would have gone off, I was already sitting upright, staring at the bedroom wall like it owed me an explanation. Nothing. Smooth paint. Hairline cracks. Normal. Too normal. My stomach growled, grounding me just enough to stand. I stepped carefully, avoiding brushing the wall. The emergency alert replayed in my head like a warning label burned into my brain. Avoid contact with interior walls. It sounded ridiculous in daylight, but I still gave the drywall a wide berth. When I opened my bedroom door, the hallway air felt stale, heavy, like the building hadn't exhaled all night. My phone buzzed again. Limit movement within enclosed spaces. Remain alert. That wasn't comforting. I stepped into the main room. The apartment looked untouched. Dishes in the sink, jacket on the chair, yesterday frozen in place. Then, sir, a dragging sound slid along the living room wall. I froze mid-step. The noise was faint, but unmistakable, like something slowly pulling its fingers across the inside surface. Traveled left to right, following the wall, following me. I didn't breathe. The sound stopped when I did. Silence again. We were listening to each other. My chest tightened. Slowly, deliberately, I backed toward the front door. Every movement felt loud, like the floorboards were betraying me. The dragging sound didn't return, but I could feel a tension pressed against the drywall, a pressure in the air, like being watched from inches away. I opened the door. The hallway outside buzzed with low voices. Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly gave out. People. Normal people. Mrs. Calder from 3B stood in her doorway clutching her phone, glasses sliding down her nose. 2 college kids from down the hall whispered aggressively to each other. A guy I'd never spoken to leaned against the opposite wall, then jerked away like he'd touched a hot stove. "Did you get that alert?" someone asked. Everyone talked at once. "What does it even mean? This is a prank. I heard something in my wall last night that shut everyone up." We all looked at the speaker. It was Mrs. Calder. Her hands shook. "Like scratching," she said. "Not mice. Bigger. Slower." A ripple of unease passed through the hallway. The guy across from me swallowed. "Yeah, same. It stopped when I got close." Nobody laughed. Nobody said that's impossible, because we'd all heard something. From somewhere down the hall. Bang. We flinched in unison. A door burst open. A man staggered out, breathing hard. "They're in there," he said. Silence. "In where?" someone asked. He pointed behind him. "At the wall." His voice cracked. We stared past him into the apartment. Nothing looked wrong. Couch, TV, normal life. Then, knock, soft, inside the wall. Every head turned toward the sound. Knock, knock, knock. Not random, measured. A response. Mrs. Calder whispered, "Oh God!" The man backed away from his doorway. "I hit it," he said. "I told it to stop." The hallway air seemed to tighten. My phone buzzed. Everyone's did. We looked down together. Do not provoke wall activity. Maintain distance. Too late. The knocking grew faster. Closer. Traveling. We could hear it moving through the shared walls like something crawling from apartment to apartment. Toward us. People started backing away instinctively. The sound stopped directly beside the guy who'd hit the wall. He pressed himself against the opposite side of the hallway. "See," he said nervously. "Nothing's." The drywall behind him bulged. Just slightly, like someone pressing their palm from the inside. He didn't notice. We did. Someone screamed, "Move!" He turned. The bulge flattened instantly. The wall went smooth again. Dead quiet. The man stared, chest heaving. "What?" No one answered, because we were all staring at the wall. Waiting. Nothing happened. No knocking. No movement. Just that suffocating silence again. Eventually, doors closed. One by one. Nobody said a word. I stepped back into my apartment and shut the door carefully. The dragging sound returned the moment the latch clicked. Slow, patient, right behind the wall. And this time, it didn't stop when I froze. Kept moving, learning the shape of the room, learning me. I didn't sleep, not even close. The dragging inside the wall never stopped. It just changed pace, sometimes slow and curious, sometimes quick, like it heard something I didn't. Every time I shifted in my chair, it reacted, adjusted, followed. By sunrise, my nerves felt scraped raw. I packed a bag without really thinking about it. Phone charger, flashlight, water, a hoodie. Survival instinct kicking in late, but kicking in hard. The wall ticked softly behind me while I moved. Tap, drag, tap. Testing. I refused to look at it. My phone buzzed. Report any structural abnormalities immediately. Do not remain alone. Too late for the first part. I opened my door carefully. The hallway smelled wrong. Not rot, something dusty and metallic, like wet concrete. The overhead lights flickered in uneven pulses, buzzing louder than they should. 3 doors down, Mrs. Calder stood in her doorway again. But she wasn't talking this time. She was staring at her wall. Her lips moved silently. I stepped closer. "Mrs. Calder?" She flinched like I'd shouted. "Listen," she whispered. I held my breath. First, nothing. Then I heard it. Faint, hollow sound, like someone breathing through cupped hands. The wall in her apartment shivered. Not visibly at first. More like the texture rippled, paint flexing in tiny waves. My brain tried to reject what I was seeing. Walls don't move. They don't behave. The breathing got louder. Wet. Closer. Mrs. Calder backed away slowly. "It's been doing that for 10 minutes, she whispered. "It's trying to." The drywall dented inward. Perfect handprint. From the inside. We both froze. Another handprint appeared beside it. Then another. Pressing. Feeling. Like something mapping the boundary between us. The hallway lights flickered harder. Somewhere, a man shouted. A door slammed. Footsteps thundered. And then, the wall split. Not shattered. Opened. The crack formed silently. A thin black seam widening like a mouth. Inside wasn't studs or insulation. It was dark. Depthless dark. And something shifted inside it. Mrs. Calder made a broken sound in her throat. A shape slid forward. Too thin. Too long. Limbs bending wrong, joints folding like soft wire. Its surface looked unfinished. Matte and grainy, like it had been sculpted from shadow. Its head tilted. It didn't have a face, but I felt it looking at us. Mrs. Calder screamed. The thing reacted instantly. It unfolded out of the wall in one fluid motion, no weight, no resistance, just there. Its arms stretched toward her, lengthening mid-reach like melting rubber. I grabbed her and pulled. The creature's fingers scraped the doorframe with a sound like glass cutting metal. We fell backward into the hallway. Doors slammed open. People poured out, shouting, crying, confused, until they saw the thing crawling halfway out of her wall. The hallway exploded into chaos. Someone yelled, "What is that?" The creature jerked at the noise. Its head snapped toward the crowd. Then it smiled. Not with lips, with movement. Its torso split open in a vertical seam, revealing rows of twitching shapes inside, like fingers tapping from the darkness. The lights died. Pitch black. The hallway filled with screaming. Bodies collided. Someone fell. Someone else shouted for help. The air turned into panic and breath and blind terror. And through it all, I heard movement inside the walls. Not one, many, traveling fast. The emergency alert tone screamed from every phone at once. A chorus of synthetic dread. Breach confirmed. Avoid all wall contact. Evacuate immediately. Too late. Something brushed my arm. Cold. Not air. A hand. I swung my flashlight blindly. The beam cut through the dark just long enough to show a silhouette peeling back into the wall like liquid shadow. People were vanishing. Not dragged away screaming, just there 1 second, gone the next. The walls rippled with movement. They were everywhere. I grabbed Mrs. Calder again. "Stairs!" I shouted. We ran. The stairwell door slammed open under my shoulder. Emergency lights glowed dim red, painting everything like a crime scene. Above us, bang, something hit the stairwell wall. The metal groaned inward. Mrs. Calder sobbed. "They're following." The wall bulged again. Closer. Another impact. Dust rained from the ceiling. The metal warped like soft clay. Whatever was inside wasn't trying to hide anymore. It was trying to get through. And it was learning how. We ran down the stairs while the walls pulsed around us like a heartbeat. Alive. Hungry. Listening. The stairwell shook as we ran. Not like an earthquake, this was rhythmic. Intentional. Each metallic groan echoed through the concrete like something climbing inside the structure itself. Mrs. Calder nearly slipped. I caught her arm and dragged her down the last flight. The lobby doors were wide open. People were flooding out into the street, barefoot, half-dressed, crying, screaming into phones that only played the emergency tone on loop. Outside air hit my lungs like ice water. Freedom, for half a second. Then I noticed nobody was calming down. They were still running, away from the buildings, away from everything vertical. A man in a suit tripped on the curb and scrambled on all fours into the road. A woman grabbed her kid and yelled, "Don't touch the walls," like it was a prayer. Sirens wailed in every direction. We staggered into the open street. That's when the first car stopped moving. Not braking, stopping. Its engine died mid-roll. The headlights flickered. The entire vehicle shuddered like something bumped it from underneath. The asphalt beneath it rippled. Just a little, like a pebble dropped into black water. The car sank an inch. People screamed. It didn't fall through. The road swallowed it slowly, rubber tires dipping into what looked like liquid shadow spreading beneath the pavement. The driver clawed his door open and fell out screaming. The street sealed behind him. Smooth, untouched. The car was gone. Someone shouted, "The ground!" And then the buildings answered. Windows exploded outward. Concrete walls flexed like lungs inhaling. Entire sections of brick pulsed, bulged, and split open. They came out in dozens. Tall shapes peeling themselves from architecture like wet paper. Some crawled sideways across surfaces. Others dropped to the street without sound. Limbs folding and unfolding in ways that hurt to watch. They weren't running. They were observing. People scattered in every direction. A man sprinted past one of the things. It didn't chase him, simply leaned, and half its body slid into the street. When it emerged, it was standing in front of him. No movement in between, just repositioned. The man collided with it. He didn't bounce off. He went through. His scream cut short like a power line snapping. The creature straightened. Inside its torso, something moved. A silhouette pressed outward briefly, then went still. Mrs. Calder gagged beside me. "They're using the walls," I whispered. "No," she said, voice shaking. "They are the walls." A convoy roared into view. Military trucks, armored plating, loudspeakers screaming instructions nobody followed. "Do not approach structures. Move to open ground. Remain visible." Soldiers poured out, rifles raised. One fired. The bullet hit a creature center mass. The thing rippled like disturbed water, then returned to shape. No wound, tilted its head. The soldier fired again. The creature stepped sideways, not dodging, simply sliding into the nearby building facade and emerging from the truck beside him. The soldier didn't have time to scream. His shadow stretched wrong for a split second. Then both were gone. The gun hit the pavement. The rest of the squad opened fire wildly. It did nothing except attract attention. Every nearby wall flexed. The creatures surged forward. Not fast, deliberate, like they already knew the ending. The military line broke in seconds. Some soldiers ran. Some disappeared mid-step. The trucks sank halfway into the asphalt like toys pressed into clay. And the street, the entire street, began to ripple, not in spots, everywhere. People fell as the ground softened under their feet. Hands clawed at the surface, leaving no marks. The asphalt felt solid 1 second, liquid the next. Mrs. Calder grabbed my arm. "Move!" We sprinted toward the park across the street. Open grass, no structures, no pavement. The rippling stopped the second my foot hit dirt. Solid, real. Dozens of survivors gathered there, trembling, watching the city convulse. Buildings pulsed like breathing animals. Creatures flowed in and out of them in silent patrols. Every vertical surface shimmered with movement. The skyline wasn't a skyline anymore. It was a body. Phones screamed again. The alert cut through the chaos. They are using man-made structures. Open terrain only. Do not enter buildings. This is a containment failure. Someone whispered, "Failure?" The city answered. A skyscraper across the district folded inward like paper crushed in a fist. No explosion, no collapse. It simply disappeared into itself. And the creatures spread, flowing along roads, through streetlights, across signs. Every constructed thing became a doorway, and they were leaving the city. A kid near me cried, "Where do we go?" Nobody had an answer, because everywhere humans built, they could follow. Mrs. Calder squeezed my arm hard enough to hurt. "They're not hunting," she whispered. "They're expanding." And in the distance, I saw the first highway sign ripple. By nightfall, the city was gone. Not destroyed, replaced. From the hill overlooking the park, we watched the skyline breathe. Buildings pulsed like slow hearts, surfaces rippling with movement. Every road that touched the city shimmered black, like ink spreading through veins. Nobody tried to leave anymore. We'd already seen what happened. Cars sank into highways. Bridges flexed like rubber and swallowed entire lanes. Anything man-made had become permeable, alive. The emergency alerts stopped. No reassuring voice, no instructions, just silence, and the sound of distant screaming carried on the wind. Mrs. Calder sat beside me, wrapped in a blanket someone found. Her eyes never left the city. "They're not chasing us," she said quietly. I realized she was right. The creatures stayed inside the structures. They flowed through buildings, signs, vehicles, guardrails, mapping every human-made line like blood finding capillaries. They didn't want us. They wanted what we built. A man nearby tried to test it. He stepped onto the concrete walking path that cut through the grass. The path rippled instantly. He jumped back, screaming, collapsing into the dirt. The surface smoothed like nothing happened. The rule was simple now. Grass safe, construction deadly, and the safe space was shrinking. Across the park, a maintenance shed trembled. Its metal sides pulsed once, twice, then something unfolded out of it. Tall, thin, patient. It didn't look at us. It turned toward the open highway beyond the city and stepped into the guardrail. Its body vanished into the metal like water accepting a stone. Seconds later, the highway rippled. The expansion wasn't random. It was systematic. Infrastructure to infrastructure, connection to connection, like they were following a blueprint humanity had drawn for them. Someone whispered, "They're spreading." Nobody argued. We watched streetlights miles away flicker and go dark one by one. The world was being traced. Mrs. Calder's voice shook. "There's nowhere without walls." Eventually, the truth sat heavy in my chest.